Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Hope everyone's doing well out there. We appreciate you coming along for the ride. It is Thursday. That means we got our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. We're going to go to the Titan MR hotline now, and we're joined by Brent. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Good, Shane. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year around the corner for everyone. Glad to be with you, enjoying the multiple bowl games on every night, which will extend through next Tuesday. So it's a wonderful time of year with the playoffs coming up.
That is so true, and it's as you mentioned, 3 bowl games yesterday. One of them, I believe, was canceled, but it was fun watching. I was in and out most of the day, watched a lot of it. I thought the Clemson-Iowa State game was very intriguing. Kids played extremely hard. And, say what you want to say. There's a lot of people out there that don't like Dabo for whatever reason. He's done a phenomenal job with his program.
Yeah.
They've won 10 games or more in 11 straight years. His kids play hard. Matt Campbell's team played hard. And that's what the bowl games are supposed to be about.
Yeah, they are. But by the way, Dabo is the third coach in Division I history to win 150 games in his first 15 years.
Wow.
But by the way, the other two, Urban Meyer and Bob Stoops. How about that?
That's pretty good company right there.
It is.
Yeah, so Brent, and you mentioned Bob Stoops. So Stoops, he gets his interim win as a head coach for Oklahoma. They pretty much throttled Oregon in the first half, and I'll be honest, I fell asleep, and I guess Oregon made it somewhat of a game. But I don't know what it is, but ever since the national championship game where I think Oregon lost to Auburn, if I'm not mistaken, and that's Cam Newton and that crew, Oregon's kind of lost their luster to me. I mean, yeah, if kids want to go there and wear all the 1,000 different combinations of uniforms or whatever, but they have not been very good. And they are a soft football team. I don't know what it is. I don't think Oregon – here's where I'm going with this. Lincoln Riley is going to run the Pac-12.
Yeah, he will. He will. Yeah, I agree with that. Dan Lanning coming over. And look, this is a risk for Oregon. I hope Dan is successful. He's done a good job at Georgia as D coordinator. He is now stepping up and being the guy. Frankly, and that's not going to be easy. Now, we know Bo Nix is going up to Oregon. But Mario Cristobal certainly helped Oregon, and as far as their recruiting, I think they've got better players. But to your point, even when Cristobal was there, they would have one or two just mystifying losses every year. And we saw this again this year. So Oregon's much better than they were decades ago, but certainly will they be tougher under Lanning? That's an astute point, and that's what remains to be seen.
Yeah. Speaking of the bowl cancellations, Dave Doran, who I've met a couple of times, I think he's done a really good job at NC State, came out on Twitter, and he basically said the NCAA stands for no clue at all, in his opinion, and just goes off on how, as I said on my show yesterday, Brent, UCLA was participating in all the bowl activities. NC State was doing what they're supposed to do. And then, boom, all of a sudden they have a few guys test positive, and they cancel the game, which I went off on a tangent yesterday, Brent. It makes no sense to me. You have 10, 15, 20 players, so be it. You travel with 125 to bowl games.
Right.
Play the game.
Well, I agree with that entirely. They pulled out of that game with 5 hours notice. The NC State quarterback, Aaron McLaughlin, had a really interesting tweet when he said, our team has been away from family and friends for a month preparing for this. We have been here for 5 days practicing in a hotel for Christmas just for it to be canceled 5 hours before kickoff. And I don't blame them for being upset about this. And look, I'm with you. If you're a team that you are down multiple players, look, you've got 85 scholarships. Play. And look, Shane and I aren't saying that the COVID situation is not serious, but and it is. But listen, you've got trainers, you've got medical people. These schools know what they're doing. They have dealt with this stuff over the last several years. Let your medical people deal with it. Isolate the guys who are sick. Let the other ones play. And what UCLA did is just egregious, frankly.
Yeah.
When you have teams on site, same thing happened to Memphis and Hawaii, and you can kind of go on down the line here with others. So, but your point, and I'm telling you, the NCAA, the bowls, the commissioners, they're going to have to get together with this, hopefully during this off season, and keep situations like this from continue to happen.
I agree, because it's not going anywhere. It's going to be, it's just like I was talking to somebody the other day. They say this new strand is basically a little cold. Could you imagine Michael Jordan not playing in that NBA playoff because he had the flu? Them telling him he wasn't able to play.
No.
John on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law, says a down year for Dabo is a 10-win season. Wow.
Yeah.
They were 2-2 at one point. They were 2-2. They rallied the troops. Now, again, it's the ACC, but still, it's maybe one of the least talented teams I've seen, because I watched them pretty much that whole game. I'm not sure that kid's is going to be able to be their quarterback. I don't know who they've signed, who else they have on their roster. But if Dabo wants to get back into the national picture, he's got to find him another quarterback. That guy can't play.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. And Uiagalelei just continued to struggle. It's one of those unfortunate things to where he hasn't made a whole lot of progress from day one to now. So, and I'm with you. I mean, what they've done when they just have not been able to score has just been amazing. So, but Dabo knows what he's doing. A lot of people aren't going to agree with his attitude on some things, but look, and again, as we said a minute ago, you get 150 wins in 15 seasons. That speaks for itself.
No doubt about it. Brent, we got more bowls kicking off today. Let's jump. I want to say is the Peach Bowl is this evening, I believe. It's the night game. Michigan State against Pitt. This was going to be a really good game, but you got Kenny Walker and Kenny Pickett sitting it out. Brent, I want to get your thoughts on players opting out. I went off on a tangent yesterday. I went off on a tangent a lot of things yesterday, Brent, on my show. Because people sit here and talk about these bowl games being meaningless. I see where they're coming from, but I disagree. The reason I say that is pretty much when you lose a couple of games in college football in the regular season, the rest of your games are meaningless pretty much, but you still played in them. So my point was, I brought up Florida, for example. Was the South Carolina game, was the Missouri game, was the Kentucky game, was the Samford game, was the Florida State game any more different than the Gasparilla Bowl? And if you played in those games, why wouldn't you play in the Gasparilla Bowl, is my point.
Right. I agree with that.
So I just think it's ridiculous. But anyway, your thoughts on this Peach Bowl?
Well, I mean, it's watered down to the degree without Walker and without Pickett, that it obviously affects the game, and it would have been a really, I think, probably high-profile game if those guys would have played. I think there are at least a couple things that are going to have to be done with the bowls. One is the bowls are going to have to find something to make it worthwhile for these players to stick around. Maybe to get something going with the NIL situation. The ultimate answer for this, or the bigger answer for this, is if when we expand the playoffs and you've got more bowls that are involving playoff teams, at that point they mean something. So what we're going to have to do, and this is a sermon on another day, but this is an important off-season for college football. They've got to get something done in the sport, make some decisions that are going to help the game overall, and deal with situations like this, as far as the opt-outs and all that's going on in the delayed playoff and so forth. So again, another game that could be pretty good, but you're just got the stars are out of it, and that takes so much out of it too.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see if we get to the point where I'm thinking about the Oklahoma game last night. Mm-hmm. Caleb Williams, true freshman. We know he's going to be the quarterback at Oklahoma. We assume for the next 2 years at least. Mm-hmm. What if he would have said, you know what? I'm not going to play in the Alamo Bowl. I'm going to wait till the season opener next year and play again. You know, will we get to where kids opt out that still have eligibility?
I think anything's possible. My real concern, and I hope this doesn't happen, but unfortunately it very likely will, are kids who are opting out when you're in the playoffs. That's when it would get to the point of being ridiculous. So I hope that happens. I hope it doesn't happen, but that's a reality we're facing.
Yeah, and Lauren says here on Facebook Live, and I agree 110% with him. He said you should never opt out. Being a first-rounder has nothing to do with it. First-rounders play all the time. You could get hurt working out for the draft. You can get hurt at the Senior Bowl. You can get hurt going to Publix or driving down I-75. Right. I totally disagree. I agree with what Lauren says on Facebook Live. Before we jump into some other games here, John's got a question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. Do y'all think Dabo changes his attitude towards the transfer portal? I'm assuming, I haven't followed it closely, maybe Dabo does not like the transfer portal. I don't know if he's taken any kids from the transfer portal. I know he's lost some. Do you know how Dabo feels about the transfer portal, Brent?
He really doesn't want to take kids in the transfer portal. He's a real believer that he wants to build his roster through high school seniors, basically, as we normally would do. But I still say that you can, and Nick Saban's proven this too, that you can get the majority of your roster through your typical recruiting avenues, but you can add a couple of guys like Henry To'oTo'o of Tennessee, Jamison Williams of Ohio State. My goodness, where in the world will they be without him? And not go against your principles of mainly wanting to build through the typical avenues of recruiting.
Yeah, we got a couple of Facebook Lives here that are interesting, and I kind of like their thought process here. It was from Rick, and if I can pull it up real quick, I want to see what you think of this, Brent. Rick says, if a team pays your fees for 4 years if you play football, we're basically referring to your scholarship. So if a team gets a bowl bid and you do not play, you should have to pay some portion of your scholarship back. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that makes some sense. But see, to his point, there's some accountability for that. And the problem we've got now on behalf of the players, they're not accountable and responsible for anything toward in the bowl games. So that's a good point.
Yeah. All right, Brent. Another big game, which was, good gracious, both of these teams could have been in the playoff. Notre Dame and Oklahoma State are playing in the Fiesta Bowl. Boy, it could be a different story for these two teams.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, I agree. Now, Oklahoma State with Gundy has really done a nice job this year. This is their best defense. Losing a close game to Oklahoma, it could be much better than what it has been for them. But yeah, a lot been said about Notre Dame has not faced a defense like they will see against Oklahoma State. So we'll see how that comes up with them. But I would say if Oklahoma plays well, I think they've got a much better offense than Notre Dame does. I can see them winning this game. But you're right. This could be a much better game than people realize.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Marcus Freeman jumps right into a major bowl game in his first day on the job. So, a lot of people are high on him. I think he will do a good job for Notre Dame. The Rose Bowl. I've heard I shouldn't say all. I have a few Ohio State friends. We're not worried. We're not worried about this Rose Bowl game. Our fans aren't going to show up. Our kids don't want to play in it. That is the biggest crock I ever heard. I mean, Ohio State fans used to die to go to Pasadena to the Rose Bowl.
That's right.
And Utah has never been, and they're going to be excited to play in this game.
Sure they will. Absolutely. And look, and again, the reason that your listeners need to pay attention to this game is Florida starts the season next year at home with Utah. And folks, I'm telling you, one of the things that Billy Napier's got to do in this off season, this Gator team's got to be a lot tougher and a lot more physical than they are, Shane, because I guarantee you Utah will be. Utah is basically an SEC team playing in the Pac-12 is who they are, and they better pay attention to this. And look, your point again, it needs to be remade about the Rose Bowl. Listen, much to our chagrin, we didn't have a playoff for years because Jim Delaney and the Big Ten were a roadblock for getting a playoff because they thought the Rose Bowl was the greatest game of all. So what you're hearing from your Ohio State acquaintances certainly would go against the grain in what this league has thought as far as the Rose Bowl is concerned. So, but it's still, if Ohio State's interested to play, it could be a very good game because Utah certainly will be.
Turn your car or truck into a rolling billboard for your business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot this December. Mention promo code Shane to receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with Brent Beaird on the Titan MR Hotline. Speaking of Utah, as you said, Gators open up in the swamp against this Utah team, and I can't remember exactly, but Brent, they have like a ton of starters on this team coming back next year, and I guess we have to tune into the Rose Bowl because the broadcasters will let us know that, but it's going to be a tough task for the Gators in the opener. John says on Facebook Live, Utah thumped Oregon twice. They are for real. Yeah, they are the best team in the Pac-12. I mean, they won the championship, but they are. They're the best coach team. They play hard. I love their mentality. It's going to be Utah and USC. Oregon is not even going to be a factor, in my opinion. All right, Brent. I saw a note from you about Troy Calhoun and Air Force. I watched some of their game. I guess it was yesterday. Mm-hmm. And they're fun to watch, and they don't get all the love that Army and Navy do because they don't play in the big game at the end of the year. But for a service academy, they threw the ball pretty well the other day.
Troy Calhoun is one of the few Division I coaches who actually have over 100 wins. He has done a really good job. They have 4 10-win seasons since 2014. And look, it doesn't take long to call the roll on that class. they did do well, didn't they, Shane, in throwing the ball? I think sometimes they lull you to sleep with that triple option, and then they're able to fade back and make it work. But they played really well, and I can tell you, when you're playing a service academy team, Army won, Air Force won. Now, obviously, the Navy didn't make a bowl, but the thing is, these guys aren't opting out. It means something to them to be able to play in a bowl game, and I give these service academies a lot of credit for how well they have done.
Yep, no question. Brad says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, scholarship athletes should be obligated to play in postseason games. I'm kind of on agreement. We got a text on the Titan MR text line from Daryl. Daryl says, Shane, I'm burned out on this COVID. One day they may have a bowl game sponsored by Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, or Moderna. They could.
Yeah, Daryl's on to something there, yes.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. All right, Brent, today's games, before we jump into tomorrow's games, which are the big games, the early game, I think it's around 11:30 Eastern time. You got the Battle of the Carolinas. South Carolina has had some COVID issues, apparently, but Shane Beamer says all the kids feel fine, but they're still going to play the game.
Yep.
Is Sam Howell playing in this game for North Carolina?
Yes, he is. Yes, unless something's happened overnight, he's playing.
Okay, so how do you see this game playing out?
North Carolina's been wildly inconsistent this year. I think everybody thought that they would play a whole lot better than they did. Now, again, South Carolina's had their moments. Unfortunately, for Florida and Auburn fans, that they had their moments against them. But again, I mean, you've still got this situation where you've got Zeb Nolan, the GA, is going to start the bowl game. Colton Gaither is going to be his backup. And now, remember, they've got Spencer Rattler coming in next year, and they will have at least some better consistent play here. To me, the big stat for this game is South Carolina struggles against teams that can run the ball. They've allowed over 200 yards rushing 5 times in the last 9 games and went 0-5, 4-0 when they allowed fewer than 200 yards rushing. So if you want a good stat on this game, how South Carolina is going to do, that would be it. So, but look, I mean, South Carolina's playing with house money, aren't they, Shane? I mean, they had a decent year in Shane Beamer's first year that they're in a bowl. They should be loose. They should be ready to play. I still say North Carolina has the better roster, but this will be a humongous win in many ways for South Carolina against a team that they should play more often.
I agree. Real back to these Facebook Live here. I gotta respond to this one, Brent. It was referring to someone said scholarship athletes should be obligated to play in the bowl games. David says absolutely not. Where's the coaches and administrators' responsibility in caring for the kids? They are not good enough. They don't get scholarships renewed. Exactly. Kids scholarships are year to year, David, and
yes.
Sometimes kids get their scholarships taken. Sometimes when you meet, the way kids' scholarships get taken these days are they meet with the head coach and he's like, you know what, we got a couple guys coming in at your position.
Right.
You can stay and compete, or you can go to the transfer portal. That's right. How they take their scholarship away. And I totally disagree. It's not the administrators and coaches' responsibility to get you to the NFL. It's their responsibility for you to produce and graduate from your university. Right. What you do once you leave the university has nothing to do with that coach.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is what we call roster management. And it happens every year, happens every off season, and it will continue to happen. But the point you made's a good one that needs to be repeated is scholarships are a year-to-year thing. You don't sign up, you've got 4 years guaranteed. It doesn't work that way.
Nope. And Andy says Air Force had 91 consecutive running plays going into the bowl game. Wow. I did not know that. That's great. And then Chris Chris has a Facebook Live here. Let's see if I can pull it up. Well, yeah, he says, thank God in 1992, Shane and Carlton Miles did not hold out when we played NC State in the Gator Bowl. Yep, we should have opted out. But we had goals. We wanted to win, be in the top 10 in America, even though that was a down year, and we went 9-4. So, yeah, that's the thing about Coach Spur. Dabo Swinney reminds me a lot of Coach Spur. He's got goals that they try to attain each year. And so anyway, all right. So the other game today, I think this is going to be the best game on the board. Purdue and Tennessee at the Music City Bowl. Boy, two great offenses, Brent.
Really is. Now, unfortunately, Purdue's wide receiver David Bell opted out, so he will not be in the game. And also, they had another and Bell was an All-American. George Karlaftis also is a All-American. He's opting out. Also, will be interesting to see in a lot of ways. I mean, this is in the Music City Bowl. This should be a home game for Tennessee in a lot of ways. And again, if people miss this, Hendon Hooker is coming back next year. And to me, just as important, Shane, Cedric Tillman, the Tennessee wide receiver, is coming back next year too. So the Vols have their starting quarterback and best receiver who is coming back. This thing could be 42-40 before it's over. But listen, to have had the improvement Tennessee has under Josh Heupel and to be able to win a bowl game, man, that would really jumpstart Tennessee for an incredible expectations during the offseason.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. David says here, he's responding to me and talking about, he's saying it's year to year. Yes, we know that. There's nothing in any contract to play extra and put yourself at risk. How's Marcus Lattimore doing? Marcus Lattimore got hurt in the regular season, buddy. Had nothing to do with a bowl game. So should the players just not play in the regular season? There's no difference than playing week 5 than playing in a bowl game. There's no difference.
No, there really isn't. And look, you should be in better shape by the end of the year than you should be in week 5. So
there's plenty of guys that have increased their bowl stat. I mean, Chauncey Gardner went from probably not getting drafted to getting drafted 3rd or 4th round because he played well against Michigan in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. So I will argue with anybody any day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You can argue with me all you want. I do not agree with it. So there you have it. Okay, the other game this evening, Wisconsin is playing Arizona State in the Las Vegas Bowl. I wasn't even aware that Arizona State made a bowl game. But
really?
Wisconsin's another one of those teams. I guarantee they ain't got anybody opting out. They're going to go play hard.
Yeah, they will. Paul Chris has done a good job there. They oftentimes don't meet expectations, and frankly, there are a lot of people thought they should have been in the Big Ten championship game. But you're right, and I think that's the 10-15 start, if I remember that right, with
Correct.
that one. But yes, that will be a very interesting game too after the 2 SEC games today.
Yep. All right. Well, tomorrow's the big day with the two big games. Alabama-Cincinnati kicks off at around 3:30. Doug Marrone and Bill O'Brien are back. And I saw in your notes, Joe Pendry, who I played for with 2 different NFL teams. He is still an analyst for Saban, but he's going to be an on-the-field coach now, right?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see kind of how that goes. Pendry's been with Alabama before. He's done a good job. And this is a thing that Dabo was the same way. These guys are incredibly smart because they've got people like Pendry to be able to help them in a moment's notice. So and he will. Bama will be fine. There are no opt-outs. There are no COVID issues that we know about at this point. Now look, I think Bama wins. They've got the better roster. But they've got some challenges in this game, Shane. They've got to replace John Mechie, and who are they going to do that with? Maybe Trajan Holden, Slay Bolden's in there. But the thing we need to remember too is Cincinnati has maybe the better secondary, you could argue, in the nation with Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant. Desmond Ritter's really good. He has a record number of wins for Cincinnati. Jerome Ford, their running back, is a former Alabama player. The Alabama offensive line that played so well against Georgia didn't allow a sack on Bryce Young. Will they be able to do the same thing? If you're looking for a stat in this game that could really make a difference, Cincinnati has struggled with field goals this year. They've missed 10 of 17. So I wonder in a game like this how much they and Shane, you would understand this better than most. If you're struggling kicking field goals, does that mean if you're Cincinnati, when you're close to the red zone, that you may take some unnecessary chances to go for it if you're not depending on your kicker? Is that a thought process there?
Well, they're going to have to. They ain't going to beat Alabama kicking field goals.
No,
so
agree.
That's whether you got a good kicker or not. You probably got to change your thought process before the game starts. You're exactly right. You know what's interesting is you mentioned they do have two really good corners, but the way Alabama throws the football, I think they'll take full advantage of them. But you know who I think is going to have a big, big day because he's going to be a matchup nightmare for Cincinnati is Billingsley.
Yeah. Now
the tight end / wide receiver.
Right.
They don't have anybody that can cover him. Nobody.
Well,
and I think he'll have a big game.
Well, and listen, he's had an attitude problem the whole year. He's had a drop the ball problem the whole year too. But he could really redeem himself in the playoffs. You're right.
Yeah. I don't know if people saw this, but I'm going to read a tweet. It came from Saban's press conference yesterday, and he was reiterating that the players on his team voted to not leave the entire team hotel unless it was for practice. And he says, quote, "You're not going to remember what you did on Tuesday night in Dallas 3 months from now, 3 weeks from now, or 3 years from now, but you'll remember the rest of your life what happens in this football game." And so that's how Alabama is approaching it. They're not doing any of the bowl festivities or what have you. So it's just a different mentality, and I applaud the players. I mean, they understand how important this game is.
They had a chance to go to the Cowboy game, and they turned it down because they wanted to. And Saban, the way a lot of coaches do, help me on this, that they have a senior council, and that council decides what they do. And that's the leadership on the team, not just the coaches. And they decided, look, this is a business trip. We want to win another national championship, and every decision they've made has come out of that.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to answer a couple of Facebook Lives brought to you by Melvin Law from Brandon and David, referring kids missing one game. It's not one game, people. What y'all don't understand is, and Brad says it perfectly, define meaningless. Let me find it. Define meaningless. Most games played across the country all season don't have any championship implications. That is what I've been trying to say. So all of those games meaningless, therefore the top pick shouldn't play. That is my point. So in week 5, when you're sitting at 2-2 and you're out of the SEC East chance, so that means all your so-called top players should not play. That's why week 5 and week 6 mean no different than the bowl game. And it means no different than going to the Senior Bowl. You have just a big opportunity of being injured there. And there have been people that have been injured training. Mm-hmm. There have been people injured in the Senior Bowl. So meaningless is the wrong term, because the South Carolina game meant absolutely nothing for the Florida Gators. The Missouri game meant absolutely nothing for the Florida Gators. And so if you're going to sit out a bowl game, you should sit out those games, is my point. And I will argue with anybody any day of the week for that. Okay, Brent, how do you see this Georgia-Michigan game? I was driving somewhere yesterday, maybe the day before, and I was flipping through the radio's dials, and I heard Mel Kiper on one of those ESPN shows. Mm-hmm. He predicted Georgia to win this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
I don't see that. I think these teams are very even. Frankly, your biggest matchup is going to be the Georgia defensive line versus the Michigan offensive line. The offensive line for Michigan won the Joe Moore Award, which is the best offensive line in the nation. And look, can Georgia protect Stetson Bennett against Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo, who are the two better defensive ends? Now, here's something to watch in this game. Michigan refuses to say whether or not their All-American safety, Dax Hill, is healthy. So that's something we don't know about right now. Now, George Pickens is healthy for Georgia, and that can make a big difference in this game. But look, the reality is Georgia's not a team that's going to score 50 points every game. They're not built that way. Michigan's not built that way. Shane, you understand matchups well, and these teams in a lot of ways are mirror images of each other in what they like to do, what they like to prevent. So look, I'm not saying this is going to be 7-6, but I think, but a lot of this is going to be just good old-fashioned line of scrimmage football. Now, I think Georgia will win. I think they've still got the better roster between the two. But this is, if folks haven't watched Michigan this year, this is a much better Michigan team than anything that we've seen in Ann Arbor in a long time.
Yeah, they are carbon copies of one another. And if Georgia loses this game, how many people are going to blame Stetson Bennett? And he could be outstanding, and they're still going to blame him. I've argued with 3 different people on different radio shows how they said that Kirby should have played J.T. Daniels in the SEC championship. And I said, did you watch Stetson Bennett play? The reason Georgia got hammered is because they couldn't stop Alabama. Their defense played horrible. And I think he's the best quarterback on their roster by far. Mm-hmm. I don't care. This is a prime example of looking at Clemson's quarterback, who is the number 1 quarterback because he's big, he's strong, he's got a great arm. He does not know how to play quarterback. Stetson Bennett knows how to play quarterback. So I'm a big Stetson Bennett believer. I think Georgia does win the game. I think it's going to be a good one, though. All right, Brent, kept you way too long. Give me some nuggets before we let you get out of here.
Well, some things I think to also keep in mind. We've already had some teams already play games. Obviously, folks are away, and one that we didn't touch on is Kentucky and Iowa in the Citrus Bowl that's going on. To me, it's whoever does well with the turnover margin, and people say, well, what difference does that make? Kentucky is 127 in the nation in turnover margin. They have Will Levis, their quarterback, has 12 interceptions. And Iowa, now look, Iowa will put you to sleep with their offense, but Iowa's still a good football team. And Iowa is one of the better teams in turnover ratio in the country. So I think that's going to be extremely important with that one. Unfortunately for Kentucky, you've got a couple of guys, receivers will be out, Josh Ali and Isaiah Elps. They're going to be out. And listen, people have totally forgotten about this. LSU plays Kansas State in the Texas Bowl. And that's like next Tuesday night. It's basically the last bowl. And again, right now, I don't know if they're still trying to figure out, Shane, who's going to play quarterback at this point. Yeah. Is it going to be Garrett Nussmeier, or are they going to put a walk-on in there, basically? Damone Clark, one of the better linebackers in the league, has opted out with the game. Miles Brennan is coming back. Neil Farrell is opted out of the game. They're tremendous defensive tackle. So, and something needs to be said real quick. Mississippi State got rolled by Texas Tech in the Liberty Bowl, and I didn't realize this. And this goes to the point you've made the whole show, is they had double-digit players that did not meet the COVID protocol and could not play. But the bottom line is they played. Yes, they got beat 34-7, but for various reasons between opt-outs and COVID, their lineup was in shambles. But I give them credit. Will Rogers still played. He played hard, and hopefully State will be back next year, and they'll be better than they were this year.
Yep. Brent, great stuff as always, buddy. Have a great new year, and we'll talk to you next week.
Can't wait. Thank you, Shane. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. I'll take a quick timeout, come back. We got a lot of good Facebook Live and text here to respond to. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okito America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Are you tired of being sidelined by nagging pain? Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer and Dance with the Stars champion. Happy to tell you about QC Kinetics and their biologic therapies for treating pain without drugs or surgery.
Are you suffering from chronic pain in your hips, knees, shoulder, or lower back? Are you tired of living with arthritis pain? QC Kinetics offers natural pain treatment that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints.
Listen, I know pain, and I've seen firsthand how powerful biologic therapies can be. Patients at QC Kinetics rave about their result because they're getting their lives back. They are getting moving again.
These exciting regenerative treatments used to be available only to pro athletes like Emmitt. Now they're available to anyone thanks to QC Kinetics. Call today for your free consultation.
Get long-lasting results from my friends at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. In North Central Florida, call 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios at South State Bank. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner they can rely on. South State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, making forward, member FDIC. I want to thank Brent Beaird, our college football analyst, for joining us on the Titan MR hotline. All right, we're getting to some Facebook Lives brought to you by Metal Law. Lauren says, every game counts, every single one. You're dang right. And that's USD Spurrier, who is one of the most competitive human beings. If you're keeping score, the damn game matters. And then Brandon talks about most NFL guys sit out the last week of the regular season. What's the difference? There's a huge difference. Because that game means nothing because they're already in the playoffs. It's rest and recovery and get ready for the playoffs because that game does not mean anything. In college, what people don't realize, you are what you are. And when you come back for your reunion, you're coming back. I'm coming back. Man, my senior year, we went 6-7. Boy, we're proud of that. That's embarrassing. It's because you didn't play. You didn't give effort. And that record is stuck with you the rest of your life. And I just, it's a mentality thing. And it's being a competitor. And so anyway, Brad says, yes, if they are meaningless, say the kids has enough film, let them quit, drop out of school, and go for the NFL. No, that's the worst thing you can do for your university is let kids drop out of school and not graduate. I don't think people realize how important it is for student athletes, regardless of the sport, to graduate from the university. It's something like the APR and all that. So, and look, people forget, there's only about 1% that's going to make it in the National Football League. Some of these guys that are opting out may not even get drafted. We don't know. So, anyway, David says, when you don the orange and blue in any competition is always meaningful. Congratulations to UCF and the other teams that are victors over our beloved Gators. I hate losing to anyone at any time. I'm right there with you. But I do not see, somebody's going to have to really explain to me how playing Missouri, Kentucky, South Carolina, Sanford is any different than playing the UCF Knights, because the damn games mean the same. Joe says, most students, gosh, it goes away when I get ready to read it. Most students paying student loans for 20 years or more for UF education. I feel these players owe something to the university for their scholarship, regardless if they are moving on. They should just have minor league football then if the colleges don't matter anymore. Yeah, you got to have some pride, folks. And, it should bother you when your university, when your team loses. And I've seen too many people around here recently don't care if we lose. I think that's getting ready to change. And if a player has a problem with it, I don't think he's going to be on the team, quite honestly. So, trying to read some of these. If you got any texts, I think I just got a text on the Titan or text line. Let me see if I can pull it up. I want to really thank Brent Beaird. If you want to follow Brent on Twitter, he's at Brent Beaird. You can check him out there. That was another tweet from something else. We got a lot of arguments going on here that I can't keep up with. Vince says that Georgia loses, it's on Kirby. Michigan's a very good football team. Somebody also said that if Georgia loses, they think the heat's going to get on Kirby. I do not think. I mean, Georgia ain't going anywhere, people. They're going to be in the hunt for a long time. Kirby has done a phenomenal job at that school, and I don't think they're going anywhere. Lauren says just because it's part of the game now doesn't make it right. I guess he's referring to opting out and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, it's a tremendous discussion. Everybody's got their own opinions. Like I told you, in my opinion, the Florida Gators, we're going to talk about the Florida Gators. They got one potential first rounder, and that's Kyrie Elam. And I salute Kyrie Elam for playing. He gave tremendous effort the other night against UCF in a losing cause, but he played hard. And that says a lot about that kid. And I think he's going to be an NFL player for a long, long time. So anyway, Lauren says, once again, that doesn't make it right. And I am for as many bowl games as they can have so the kids get an opportunity to play. I agree 100%. I don't think people, you got to take whatever team you root for out of the equation. You got to look at the Central Michigans, the Air Forces, the whoever. Okay, the bowl games are rewards for the players. I'm not talking about a kid who has an opportunity to maybe make it in the NFL. I'm talking about the walk-ons. You got to remember, people, there's 85 scholarships on a football team. Then there's roughly about 40 scholarship kids that basically help run practice. Okay, they don't get any love from the fan base. They don't get any of the free food. They bust their ass at the 5 a.m. workouts. They bust their ass all day in practice for you to watch your team play. When it comes time for a bowl game, it is a reward for the entire football organization to go to whatever destination it is. 3, 4, 5 days, however long it used to be much longer, but I guess now with COVID, they shrunk it down. They get to get nice bowl gifts. They go into a room and you get to pick what you want. Okay. They get per diem. They get swag. They get an opportunity to visit places around the country that they will never, ever probably go to again. And they ain't paying for it. It's a great experience. It's something you'll remember your entire life. I mean, I don't anymore, but my dad played at Ole Miss. He went to like the Blue Bonnet Bowl and to these bowls and that bowl. I have all his watches and stuff. That's cool stuff. That's important. People don't realize that in the moment, but it is important. And bowl games are important. And people that complain about the bowl games, they're going to continue having all these bowl games because TV is making money off them. Whether people in the seats or not, the TV is making money. So the more bowl games, the better for college football. It's that simple. I'll argue with anybody over that. John says they had a kid for Houston that opted out against Auburn. The kid needs all the film he can get. Plus, that was a chance to show what he could do against SEC talent. I'm not sure which kid he's talking about. David asks, will Dameon Pierce make an NFL roster, and will his playing with that quote improve his chances? I don't know what the quote was. I think Dameon Pierce has a very good chance to make the NFL roster because he plays hard, and he will be cheap and available. You got to remember, NFL rosters are not made up of all these millionaires. There's 53 guys that make an NFL roster. About 8 to 10 of them are making multi-million-dollar contracts. The rest of them are making minimum salary. Now, don't take this the wrong way. Minimum salary in the National Football League is very good, but you're looking at a rookie about $300,000 or $400,000, up to about $700,000, depending on where you're slotted, how many years you have in the league. So they turn over. That's why the average career of an NFL player is 2.5 years, because after you play 2 or 3 years as a rookie and you've been cheap, they get rid of you and they bring in another rookie who's cheap and is just as fast and more durable than you. So I think Dameon Pierce will play. I don't know how long, but we shall see. Somebody says here, Shane, these kids are just built differently. I guess they are, but my point is, it don't matter. There's still only so many guys that can play in the National Football League. Doesn't matter if that was in 1960 or 2022. It's just the way the process works. Gosh dog it, I hate it when my computer does this. Jeff says he's a dude I'd want on my NFL team. I guess they're referring to Dameon Pierce. Yeah, I mean, why didn't Dameon Pierce sit out the game? He loves to play football. He loves his university, and he will do wonderful things in his career during football and after football. Let's see here. David says the Gators' efforts showed none of this from our walk-ons in the Gasparilla. None of our walk-ons played, buddy. Those were our scholarship players. They probably should have played some of the walk-ons. And quite honestly, UCF has better players at certain positions than we do, and we got to recruit better. I'm going to read some of these, scroll through them. John says Pierce will make it on special teams and get a shot at running back. Yeah, he will get a shot. I don't know if he might get drafted like 5th, 6th, 7th round. Even if he doesn't get drafted, he'll sign a free agent contract, and he will definitely. I think he'll make a roster. Got to be the right place at the right time. And but again, some of these guys, they think they're going to make rosters, but they're not. Anyway, great discussion. Appreciate everybody's input. Hope you enjoy today's games. Eric says, I do not think recruiting will be an issue moving forward. It's going to take some time, Eric, but I think Billy Napier, they're going to go get some dudes that can play and that have play with great effort and love their university and all that good stuff. They're turning the page. Chris Storing Mortgage, they do mortgage handling right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Storing Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. David says, exactly, Shane. The walk-ons, non-scholarship players didn't play. They were horrible. That's our backup players. Well, I mean, we had one starter sit out, if I'm not mistaken, Zach Carter, and I feel like he should have played. So I don't know what your point is. But anyway, we will check you guys out. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Today's show's a wrap. Brought to you by Wrap Spot. Take care. See you tomorrow.